What are some of the elements of blues music?
One of the elements of blues was the melody, which is based on what they call a blues scale, and also the 12-bar phrases, which had specific chord changes built underneath those 12-bar phrases. And it could go on forever in that format. Musically, that's what pretty much the blues was once the recording technology came into play. That's pretty much blues. I mean, it's stylized by different artists, but you can immediately define it as, yeah, this is the blues. That was really easily definable, whereas as contemporary popular music evolved, it's hard to really pigeonhole certain styles of music and certain styles of groups into anything. But the blues, you could identify immediately what it was.
How would you personally define classic rock? What is it to you?
Well, it's a certain period of time where the music, basically, like you said, was blues-based. If you want to talk about actual grammatic elements of the music, it just evolved all the time. So we have to actually talk about an era, and it's late 50s into the late 60s and the early 70s is what I would call that era of classic rock. You know, there are some groups after that, like I was mentioning to Fleetwood Mac and a few other groups that existed after that performed pretty much what we consider classic rock. But from that point on, any group that does what you might term classic rock, they're being basically retro in their approach, and they know what they're doing, and they know what their music actually sounds like, and it's referring to a past style of music.
Can you talk a little bit of how rockabilly and country affected rock and roll moving forward? What elements of that affected rock?
Well, the style of performing, the style of presenting the vocal, a lot of guitar elements up to that point wasn't that strong in rock music. And rockabilly, there was guitars in rock music per se. Rockabilly really reinforced the element of the guitar being the primary predominant instrument in rock. It didn't invent it, but it reinforced it to a great deal, the guitar. And the style of recording too. There was a certain sound in recording that you heard of vocal singing rockabilly style music, and then it just fused it all into one thing. And it just became part of classic rock. And we didn't even differentiate when you heard it. Didn't even differentiate between the two anymore. Mm-hmm. It sort of evolved into country rock, which is to me part of classic rock. Music and technologies affected music as much as, in my mind, as much as the social climate has changed throughout the years. And that can be seen in every aspect, from creativity of the music itself to the way it's performed and to how it's performed and what it's performed on. And little by little, what you hear in what is described as music changes so much that you can't even, it isn't the music of my generation, and it won't even be the music of it'll evolve to the point where it won't even be considered music of the current younger generation. You know, because I noticed that from my father, was a musician, and he didn't really care for the music that I was playing, and his father didn't care for the music that he was playing, you know. And technology has a lot to do with that. It took some investment of your time and your life to learn to do what was art to you, you know, which was playing music, and that's an art. And today it's a quick, short attention span society that's able to produce something in one day, and they don't know the difference anyway. So I don't resent it anymore. It's just an evolvement. I won't say it's a progression, or I won't say it's an improvement. It just is evolved, and it is what it is. The era of the Beatles was timing as much as anything. The era of the media being worldwide came into play just about the time they came into play. The whole political system came in, at least in the United States, with this Camelot type of feeling with the Kennedys. It all happened at the same time, and the Beatles were the primary group that made that happen. Just timing. And then they were very good to take advantage of that with their artistry.
In the late 60s, early 70s, a lot of classic rock music dealt with the Vietnam War. What was the importance of that music?
The songs and the lyrics in those songs were more important than the theatrics are from that point on. And so classic rock was at a point where, if you remember earlier, Alex was saying, you listened to it. You didn't even know what the artists even looked like at that point. It didn't matter. The music itself was a lot more important than it is now. Music is an adjunct to anyone's life. It's a background to what they're doing in their life at any given moment. And it was actually, in my era, the forefront.
People still believe in the power of rock and roll music.
Hey, thanks for watching. My name is Daniel Sarkisian. I'm an independent filmmaker from Toronto.